Welcome back. Welcome back to Living in Mexico. I'm Ana Maria Salazar. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been a very busy week regarding the upcoming electoral process for 2024. As if you're following the news this week, the parties that belong to the opposition or the coalition that's going to be created by the opposition pretty much laying down the rules as to how they're going to select their presidential candidate. In the same fashion, Morena and its allies continue to have their quote unquote potential candidates campaigning throughout the country. The big question mark, and it is a huge question mark, as to whether these processes that have been agreed by the parties are actually legal. Will the National Electoral Institute find these processes illegal, or at least that they're not following the election legislation, and what would be the consequences? Joining us again once again is Benito Nacif. You know him well. He's been joining us, I believe, in before 2008, when you became a counselor, a commissioner at the National Electoral Institute. He was at the National Electoral Institute from 2008 to 2020, I believe. Benito, once again, thank you so much for joining us. What's your opinion as to what happened, these rules that have been laid out for what it's supposed to be something like the primaries, which they're going to select what is eventually going to be the presidential candidate for the alliance and for Morena? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Ana Maria. Thank you for having me on your show. It is important for the audience to understand that in Mexico, there is a specific period specified in the law for the primaries of the political parties. That is to say, a period of 60 days for political parties and coalitions as well of political parties to select their candidates to any elective office. And in the case of the presidential office, this period, according to the law, begins on the first week of November, and it cannot last more than 60 days. And before this period, political parties and aspiring politicians cannot display electioneering acts, or they cannot campaign to obtain the nomination to elective office. That is forbidden by law. Yeah? So what is happening now is that these regulations are being ignored, both, as you said, by the ruling party, Morena, and its allies, the Labour Party and the Green Party, but not also the ruling party or the ruling coalition, but also the opposition coalition, which is formed by PAN, PRI, and PRD. And they announced the formation of a political front, but nonetheless, they are organizing a primary before or outside the period that it's specified in the law. What we have now, Ana Maria, it's anarchy, the collapse of the legal order regulating the electoral process as specified by the Constitution and the secondary legislation.
So, Benito, but what does this mean? I mean, I've been listening. I've had the opportunity to converse with a lot of experts, and all of them seem to think what you're kind of insinuating, that all these processes are probably illegal, at least based on current legislation. So, what happens now?
Well, it's difficult to say. It all depends on what electoral authorities, both the National Elections Institute and the Electoral Tribunal do. They are saying that if politicals aspiring to obtain the presidential nomination of their respective parties do not explicitly mention the magic words, specific words asking for support of that could be enough for them to avoid sanctions.
So basically, they can't say, "I am running for president. I need your vote."
Exactly.
That's what they need to avoid saying. And I guess the other big issue that is very concerning is the money that is being used. There's a lot of concern that the Morena corcholatas, or potential candidates or wannabes, whatever you want to call them, are using government money. They're supposed to be using money that comes from the parties. And that is the issue with Morena. And the issue with the alliance, or the candidates who may be arising from the alliance, there is no money from the parties, at least right now. So nobody really knows where their money is going to come from. So if this is not perceived as a campaign based on what the law says, then it really doesn't matter where the money comes from?
Well, from my point of view, it does. And the elephant in the room, as they say, in this case, is electoral corruption, quid pro quo corruption. I'm now in the state of Veracruz, and on my way to this place, because I was driving, I could see a number of dashboards,
billboards, big, huge billboards. Yeah,
exactly.
billboards. Yeah, on the
billboards
highway.
Everywhere on the highway. Yeah,
right.
And they are running a full presidential campaign right now, and I mean, all that costs a lot of money. We know that, and who is paying for it? We don't know. At the moment, INE is not displaying its audits. They're switched off because they switch on all its radar to detect expenses when the legal period for primaries begins. Before that, INE is basically not doing any monitoring of what parties and aspiring politicians are doing.
Right.
So we don't know where the money comes from. And, somebody is paying that. We don't know what are what are politicians going to give them back in return.
Yeah. Well, let's do this, Benito. This is going to be a long process. We're going to be talking a lot about this in the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months. We've got to remind the audience that the elections doesn't take place until next year in July. So, excuse me, in June. So it's June, right? This next year it's going to be in June. So I really appreciate you joining us, and promise me you'll come back really soon.
Thank you for the opportunity, Ana Maria, as always.
No, it's always great to talk to you, Benito, the former commissioner on the National Electoral Institute from 2008 to 2020. It's always, I really always enjoy talking to him. We're going to go to a commercial break. I'm Ana Maria Salazar, and